Personally, I had to deal with a covert narcissistic business partner myself. And this is really the definition of that frog in boiling water. And if you haven't ever heard that expression, if you've never heard about this analogy, it is such a perfect one. This is where this frog is sitting in water, and they don't realize that the water is getting hotter and hotter and hotter. So they end up just being boiled in it because it's just getting hotter and they don't realize it. And that's what happens with covert narcissists, because you kind of don't see them coming. With grandiose narcissists, you see them coming. You spot them a mile away because they're loud and they tell everybody how great they are. And when they come into a room, they're holding court. This is the one that I picture, when they come into the restaurant, they demand the best table. They want the service coming to them right away. They want everybody to know their name. They want, the best wine. They want to order the most amazing food. They send the food back if it's not the exact right thing. Entitlement all the way. That's the grandiose narcissist in my mind. Okay. They want to have the most prestigious friends. They want everybody in the world to see they have the most prestigious friends. They would never show up in any kind of car other than the best one. It's all about the show. That's the grandiose narcissist. The covert narcissist, on the other hand, would actually say, oh, I don't care about those things. They might say those things, but then under the radar, they would be like, display that they have those things, display that they have the nice things, but it's just so much more under the radar. They might say that they're extremely spiritual. They might say that they care about all the right things because it seems like that's the right thing to say. It seems like they know how to, under the radar, look like the right thing. But they also are very good at aligning themselves in a way that, they get the flying monkeys lined up with them, making it look like they are the good people, the kind people, the humble people, but also maybe sort of downtrodden, maybe sort of, something happened to them in the past, their past traumas got to them. And, they might even tell you that they have issues with depression, and they suck you in with their stories and you want to help them. And so you find yourself drawn to them that way. And all these people seem to think that they are good people. And you might even find that they are in professions like ministry or nursing or something like that. And everybody else thinks that they're good people, but then all of a sudden they're saying things to you that are very passive aggressive. You're thinking, where did that come from? Once you get into a relationship with them of jealousy, deep jealousy, and so you're finding that jealousy happening and that anger, that just under the surface anger and jealousy and competition. And so they say these things, well, geez, it must be nice that you get to do those things. And, oh, I don't get to do those things. And, there's like guilt and, oh, you look good, for somebody your age. Or then there like these little cuts start to happen, like these little comments start to happen. But then when you start to tell people about things, then people will be like, well, that must have been inadvertent because, they're so nice. It's really hard to tell people the things that they're doing because they're very good at being under the radar. And they have this plausible deniability where they can say, well, I didn't mean it like that. Or, oh, that's not what I was saying at all. They're excellent at kind of covering their tracks. That it makes it extremely difficult to be in a relationship with them, because when you are their target or their victim, the gaslighting and the mental tricks and the emotional abuse is so much worse and so much more difficult to get over. I mean, it really makes you think that you're crazy. I mean, they all gaslight, they all do this passive aggressive thing. They all line up these flying monkeys to make it seem like they're so wonderful. You are definitely the one that's crazy. And so when you're trying to get out of this relationship, you feel like no one's going to believe you. Everybody's going to think that you're the bad one because this person is so good. And I do have a video on this is how narcissists play the victim. You're definitely going to want to watch that. It is so sick. If you've seen any of this, give me a totally in the comments right now. Just put totally in the comments, because I know you guys have seen this. And I do have a video on covert narcissism in relationships, which you definitely should check out. I've lived this with a covert narcissist business partner, which is why I feel so passionate about this and why I've dealt with this so much. And, so it all just comes down to how they're so good at painting themselves looking like they are the victim. They're just so good at it. And they want to look like the victim because then everybody rallies around them. Everybody feels sorry for them. You look like the bad guy. And by the way, we have a covert narcissist in our family. And it's more important for them to look like the victim than even have family relationships, because they are so addicted to that attention and that supply. So they'd rather have that than actually have real relationships. And that's really the sad part. That's really the pathetic, sad, horrible part of their sickness and their addiction to their supply. But it is what it is. So you can't help them. You can't save them. The old 3 C's, right? You didn't cause it, you can't control it, and you can't cure it. So all you can do is help yourself, right? And you can do that by starting to make sure you take care of yourself. Today, exposing the shocking ways that covert narcissists manipulate you without you even realizing it. Covert narcissists are particularly difficult, I think dangerous, because they don't appear openly aggressive or controlling like other narcissists can. They're not blowhards. They're not demanding the best table in the restaurant. They're not saying that they're so great all the time. They use subtle tactics to get what they want, all while appearing humble or even vulnerable. By the end of this video, you're going to know the hidden signs to watch out for so that you can protect yourself. All right, let's dive in. Number 1 is playing the victim. I call them the pro grabbers. What? Me? I would never. Very shocking. But they play the victim constantly. They portray themselves as the one who's constantly mistreated, misunderstood, unlucky. This tactic pulls you in and makes you feel sympathy for them, makes other people feel sympathy for them, even when they're the ones who are causing the harm. Covert narcissists know that by being the victim, they don't have to take responsibility. And they also get lots and lots of attention for it. And they get support. Of course, it keeps them stuck down here, but it also gets them what they need and what they want, which is that narcissistic supply. It also makes you the villain. They're the victim, you're the villain. If you've noticed somebody who are constantly casting themselves as the victim in every situation, know that this is definitely a red flag. They're probably very, very manipulative, and they've probably manipulated a lot of other people in their lives. All right, so the next one is giving backhanded compliments. They're like the kings and queens of the backhanded compliments. It might be something like, wow, you're so brave to wear an outfit like that. I would never be able to pull that off like you. It's backhanded compliments, like that outfit looks really becoming on you, especially given your figure. They want it to seem like they're being nice and they're building you up, but they're actually tearing you down. They want you to just be a little bit off balance, questioning yourself, but they don't want to appear openly critical. So they just kind of jab at you, these little jabs, and you want to just avoid getting sucked in to what do you mean, how do you think, you don't, who cares, because it's all about them and how they feel about themselves, and people who feel good about themselves don't try to push other people down. It's just because they don't feel good about themselves. The next one is gaslighting with kindness. I just am so concerned about Susie and her drinking. I'm just worried. I'm worried about her and the kids. Or I'm so concerned that Tom has been, so late to work so often, or leaving early. He must have something going on at home. I'm just worried. So they're smearing in terms of care, and it can definitely create confusion. The other thing is, I'm just concerned for you. I just want to make sure you're okay. I mean, you seem so stressed lately. It looks like they're looking out for other people, but they've got a hidden agenda going on with all of that. They're planting seeds to further whatever their agenda is, whether it's smearing or destabilizing you or making you doubt your emotions. They use their kindness, but it's actually a covert form of gaslighting. Narcissists have a confession to make, and that is that they are way more afraid of you than you are of them, especially in court cases, mediation cases, or any kind of cases where you have to negotiate with them. But you know what? I have a confession to make too. I'm sick and tired of these people bullying you and making you feel exhausted and paying way too much in attorney's fees and dragging you through the mud. My name is Rebecca Zung, and I'm an attorney. I've been recognized by U.S. News as one of the best lawyers in America. And in fact, I was so sick and tired of these people bullying you that I started studying narcissism so that I could beat them in the courtroom. And now I'm here to make the case so that you can win too. I developed a 4-part proven blueprint that has helped tens of thousands of people take back their freedom, win, and get back their power. And now I'm sharing it with you in a special live event, Outsmart the Narcissist, the 4-part proven plan to take back your power. 4 simple steps, 1 free live event, 1 free hour of your life. That's what stands between you being in hell and you being free. Join me, click the link for Outsmart the Narcissist, the 4-step proven plan to take back your power. Just click the link and let's go. The next one is withholding attention or approval. This is particularly insidious because they'll give you just enough approval or affection to keep you hooked, but then suddenly they withdraw it to keep you guessing. So they want you to seek their approval. And so they use this push-pull dynamic, and all narcissists kind of use that. Like, as soon as you're ready to be out of this craziness and you're going to leave, then they pull you back in with just enough attention. It keeps you on edge. It keeps you working harder to please them. Recognizing this pattern for what it is a way to control your emotions. Another one that they engage in is passive aggression. Absolutely, I will help you with that project. Absolutely, I'm on board as your business partner and I'll do all of these things. And then when it comes time to get them to do it, then I'm so busy, or I had all these things going on, or I never said I was going to do that. I mean, it's very passive aggressive, because to your face, they're saying certain things, but behind the scenes, they're not coming clean on their word. So what they do is they get you in, they suck you in by saying they'll say whatever they need to say, whatever they want to say. And then you're being left with what's happening. How come they didn't do it? Do I need to say something? Should I say it? Should I not say something? And again, it keeps you on edge. They're very, very good at the passive aggressive behavior. If any of this sounds familiar say for sure in the comments below. Say for sure, it sounds familiar. And then also share your experiences so that other people can recognize these patterns as well. If you need phrases for disarming a covert narcissist, get my free phrases for disarming narcissists at disarmthenarc.com, packed with powerful responses to help you stay in control and protect your peace. So now that you know the 5 shocking tactics that covert narcissists use, let's give you some final tips to protect yourself. All right. Trust your gut. If something feels off, it is probably off. Your heart is actually 5 seconds ahead of your brain. So you actually feel it before your head is actually catching up with what's going on. They're masters of intention. So trust your instincts. Next one is setting clear boundaries. Boundaries are your best defense. Don't let them guilt trip you. They're so good at the guilt trip, that playing the victim. So make sure that you don't allow the guilt trip. I have a whole video on that, and you definitely want to check that video out on sneaky ways that narcissists try to guilt trip you and how to protect yourself from that and defend yourself against their guilt trip. The next thing is stay calm and detached. They want that emotional reaction. They need that hit. That is their drug. You are their drug to feed their bad habit. Stay calm, stay neutral, stay out of that fray, that vortex of toxicity is what I call it. Document everything, keep a record of interactions, especially if you're dealing with them in a legal or professional setting, and seek support. Join my free private Facebook group, Narcissist Negotiators with Rebecca Zung. Having people around you who understand you, who support you, can make a huge difference. Remembering these tactics is so important. If you understand them, this is the first step in defending yourself from covert narcissists and even getting on the offensive side of things. These are super subtle. It's like a death by 1,000 cuts, and everybody else thinks they're so nice. And that's what can be super frustrating. So you can stay in control. You can protect your boundaries. You can maintain your peace of mind, all by using these tactics and also just seeing them and understanding them for what they are. Fed up with narcissists walking all over you? Sick of everyone believing their lies while you're paying through the nose in attorney's fees? What if you could hold all the cards for a change? Hey, I'm Rebecca Zung. I'm a top 1% trial attorney, a USA Today bestselling author, and I've spent my entire career helping people slay narcissists in negotiations, most recently through my proven slay method. What if your suffering could become your superpower? Imagine turning all that pain into power, not just for you, but for others too. This is your chance to take back control. You can finally win. Become a high conflict negotiation certified coach. Help others while transforming your own life, and do good for the world. This is your chance. Go to RebeccaZung.com/apply, and I'll show you how to turn the tables for good starting today. What is a covert narcissist to begin with? A covert narcissist is very much a narcissist. It's just that they're better at hiding it in a lot of ways. A grandiose narcissist is the type that most people think of when they think of a narcissist. That's the type that kind of is the one that goes around bragging about things. They tell everybody in a way that they're a narcissist because they're just out there with it. They're demanding. They're bragging. They're the one that tends to be more of the male chauvinist. They're the one that I kind of thought of as a narcissist to begin with. But a covert narcissist they can be humble. They can play the victim. They can act like, oh my gosh, poor me. They can be downtrodden. But really, everybody else thinks that they're so good. They think things are so nice. They can be humanitarians. But just underneath the surface is this jealousy, this rage, this envy. And so the way it comes out is different than other narcissists. So they still feel that sense of emptiness inside. They still need an endless amount of narcissistic supply, just the same as any type of narcissist does, but the way they go about it is different. They are passive aggressive. As a lawyer, there's a term called clean hands, right? And I kind of think of them as the clean hands version of narcissists because they always try to keep their hands clean. So there's always this plausible deniability going on with them. They're the ones that are kind of clutching their pearls. What? Little old man. That's the covert narcissist. They're the ones that might be acting like they are smearing people, or they're smearing people, but acting like they're doing it in terms of care. So it's, oh my goodness, I'm so concerned about so and so and how late she's been to work so often. I mean, just I'm just really worried about her just because, she's normally so punctual and she's usually so conscientious. And I just am worried about how often she's been missing lately because that's just not her. And of course, this is a person who is probably vying for that particular job. And so she just wants to, point out that this person isn't showing up all the time or whatever it is. And maybe this person only missed once or twice. And maybe she knows exactly what's going on or whatever it is. And maybe she didn't even go to the person and say, hey, what's going on? Or whatever it is. Or maybe the boss already knows what's happening or whatever it is. But they're just taking it upon themselves to insert themselves in the situation. Or maybe they're just kind of letting other people know what's happening so that the rumor sort of spreads around, that sort of thing. Or they might put it in terms of guilt. They might be guilting you. It's all about plausible deniability with them. It's all about death by 1,000 cuts. So that's their number one form. Their number one form is that subtle emotional manipulation, but almost like they're playing a game of chess, right? It's that cutting, that subtle little cutting. You just kind of know that it's happening and you can't quite put your finger on it either, but you know that something is happening. And even when you go to tell somebody about it, they go, well, doesn't seem so bad, or oh, that must have been inadvertent. I mean, because they're just so nice, or they're just such a good person. They're doing it to manipulate some situation behind the scenes for some other third party, or there's always some kind of something driving it behind the scenes. It's not just because they deeply care about the person with cancer. There's just some agenda that they're pushing. You can't ever quite get back to them on it. It's really hard to quite push it back to them. There's always a way for them to sort of fashion it back to what in the world how could you have a problem with me caring about a person with cancer? Whereas a person who is a malignant narcissist, if they're stalking somebody, you can go right back and go, that person was stalking. And it's really clear. That line of abuse is really clear. Right there it is. Same thing with a grandiose narcissist who ignored a court order. Boom, right there it is. The line of bad behavior, boom, right there it is. With a covert passive aggressive narcissist, the line is so much finer. It's so much more difficult. So what can you do? Well, the first thing that you can do is what I say, step one, don't run. Step one, don't run. You make your boundary. You make your boundary. You know that something is going on. You know that it ain't right. So you put that invisible boundary down around you and you go, it ain't right. I'm not doing this anymore. This does not add up for me. And I'm not taking this anymore. And plus, the person is probably taking advantage of you. You know that you are doing more than your share or whatever it is. You know you're probably carrying more of your weight. They're not acknowledging you. They're not seeing your side. They're probably using guilt to manipulate you. Don't allow it anymore. You need to put that boundary down. So I want you to put in the comments, I can do this. I can do this. Boundary. All right. That's the first thing. And then the next thing is you always have a right to respect. So don't allow them to treat you with disrespect, because once you start to create these boundaries, you're going to see that mask whip off. You are going to see it, because they are every bit as much of a narcissist as every other narcissist. So once you start to create these boundaries, once you start to do this, you're going to start to see them ramp up. You're going to start to see them getting angrier. You're going to start to see this smear campaign ramp up. You're going to start to see them becoming more and more hostile. Okay. So I want you to say, I can do this. I want you to stand your ground. So get my free phrases for disarming narcissists at disarmthenarc.com. All right. So I want you to do that. I want you to join my free private Facebook group at Narcissist Negotiators with Rebecca Zung. Also very important for you to do, because you are going to need some support, right? So that is going to be very, very important for you as well. So step 1, don't run. Step 2, make that U-turn. The next thing I want you to do is just start looking at them as if they are a toddler having a tantrum on the floor, and just say things to them like, I can see that you are upset. I can see that you are angry. I can see that we may not agree to things. Keep your boundaries. Don't allow yourself to get emotional. Don't allow yourself to be sucked into their drama. Don't get pulled in, sucked in, dragged back in, right? As soon as you do, then they know that they have you. And then I want you to start documenting everything. In that documentation, that's when you're going to start to be able to create your leverage. And they will lie and they will make mistakes. I promise you that that is where you will be able to start catching them. You will be able to start to catch them, and it will start to be able to come out. Those are the first few things that you will be able to do, and it will start to come to the fore. You will be able to start getting to a place where you will be able to expose them. It will take a little time. It's simple. It's not necessarily easy, but it is very simple to do. I promise you, I've helped literally thousands of people around the world win. You can win too. It's extremely, extremely easy to do. The list today, 10 power-packed phrases that can instantly unmask that covert narcissist. All right. So let's dive in, shall we? By the way, I've got a brand new book, Slay the Bully, How to Negotiate with a Narcissist and Win, which you should go straight to slaythebully.com and you should grab it right now, because if you do, you get early access to the entire manuscript, you get a masterclass, you get all sorts of really, really super cool things. So make sure you do that right now. All right. So number 1 is, I'm not having this discussion with you. I'm telling you how it is, because you know what? They bank on the fact that you're not going to snuff them out. They bank on the fact that you're not going to go direct with them. It stops them in their tracks. So if you say directly to them, I'm not having this discussion with you, I'm telling you how it is, then it establishes your assertiveness with them. And it lets the narcissist know that you won't be manipulated, and it sets this clear boundary with them. And you don't need to say it in an angry way. You don't need to say it in a way that has any tone. You don't even need to say it. You can just say it even sort of robotically. You know, you can just make it clear that there's a new game in town, that this new game in town doesn't tolerate their attempts to control conversation. You can just say, I'm not having this discussion with you. I'm telling you how it is. Just like that. And you can just look at them like that. Okay. So that's number 1. Number 2 is, I don't get what you're trying to say or do here. You just kind of play dumb. I don't understand what you're trying to do. I'm not sure. You act confused. And when you subtly sort of challenge the narcissist's attempts to confuse or gaslight you, it puts the focus back on their behavior to demand clarity. Instead of anger, you sort of are bewildered. I'm not sure. Can you provide clarity for me? I'm just trying to understand what it is you're trying to say. Can you give me some more clarity on that, please? When you approach it with some bewilderment or like confusion instead of anger, it sort of disarms them. So that's number 2. Number 3 is, this isn't the way to talk to me or anyone else for that matter. So you are establishing that you are not going to be disrespected. And let me tell you, I always sort of give a formula for shifting the dynamic of power with narcissists. And I say that you need to think about it in terms of baby steps, because oftentimes you've been conditioned for a long time, whether it's a professional relationship or a personal relationship. A lot of times you don't feel like you can shift that dynamic of power all at once because it feels overwhelming to do it all at once. So I say, step 1, don't run. Step 2, make a U-turn. Step 3, break free. So step 1 is just creating those boundaries. When you first start creating those boundaries, that first boundary doesn't have to be a physical boundary. It doesn't have to be moving out of the house or getting out of a partnership. That first boundary can really just be, this isn't the way to talk to me or anyone else for that matter. You don't even have to add the or anyone else for that matter. You can just say, this isn't the way to talk to me. So by addressing their communication style and the fact that you find it disrespectful, you're reminding the covert narcissist that their behavior is not acceptable. And it also emphasizes, if you want to say, or anyone else for that matter, the importance of treating you with respect and others with respect. But if you don't even care about others at that moment, you can just say, don't treat me disrespectful. All right, so that's number 3. Number 4 is, if you're going to talk about me to anyone else, it should be in a respectful manner. And, I have a friend who's also my business coach. She's been my business coach for a very long time. And she would always say, don't leave me less in other people's listening. So when people are hearing about me, don't leave me less. They're thinking less of me when you walk away. So, this phrase draws attention to the narcissist's tendency to, try to line up flying monkeys, gossip about you, have their army of people so that you feel isolated, where they're speaking ill of you. And it encourages them to consider their words and reminds them of that importance of speaking of respect. But really, more importantly, you're calling them out. You're demasking them. You're saying, I see you. I know what you're doing. I know what you're up to. You're not fooling me. I see what you're up to. It's almost like you're shining the light. It's like that when you pull the rock off the bugs and they all go scurrying. What are you doing? Right? So it's not just the fact that you're demanding this. It's also the fact that you're shining the light on it and you're like shaming them about it. The next one is number 5, which is your behavior and words have consequences, which can be felt by others. Here you're highlighting the impact of their actions, which again sheds light on their lack of empathy. And it reminds them that their behavior not only affects themselves, but those around them. They may not care about you. They may not even care about anyone else, but maybe they'll be worried about how it's going to show up for themselves. And in that moment, they may be so proud that they'll be like, oh, nothing's going to happen to me. But even if they say that in that moment, they may be worried. You can still say it, because regardless of how they react in that moment, it still may worry them. Number 6 is it's not okay to only think of yourself and disregard everyone else's feelings. Again, you are standing up for yourself and you are letting them know that you see what they're doing. You see that they're only thinking of themselves. And especially for a covert narcissist, they want to be seen as the humanitarians. They want to be seen as the one who thinks of everyone else. And so if you are calling them out as someone who doesn't think of everyone else, they'll be like, oh, feigning this hurt. Like, I take care of everyone. Are you kidding me? They'll be extremely hurt by that, right? So that will kick them right in the gut. And it highlights the need for empathy and consideration towards others and exposing their lack thereof. And by the way, I have phrases for disarming narcissists that you can get for free at disarmthenarc.com, which I definitely highly recommend that you do. And if you need self-care, I have a whole video on self-care for coping with narcissists, and definitely check out that video as well. The next one is, if you want something from me, tell me so plainly, instead of implying it and being passive aggressive. Again, they're going to be like, I'm being passive aggressive. What, me? Are you kidding? They don't want to be seen as anything other than good and wonderful, even though they are very, very passive aggressive. By actually calling out their passive aggressive tendencies and tactics, you force them to be more direct and transparent, because they want to have sort of these clean hands all the time. They don't want to be seen as this manipulative person that they are. And it promotes their open and honest dialogue. And by the way, I have a whole video called Decoding the Top 7 Catchphrases of Narcissists, which is another great video for you to check out. So the next one is number 8, which is what you're doing right now isn't helping us and isn't helping the relationship. So, it just sort of like brings it all back so that you can remind everyone, where are we going with this? Don't we want to get to a place where we're actually getting somewhere with this whole thing, right? Aren't we trying to resolve a conflict here? By pointing out that their behavior is detrimental to the relationship, you highlight the negative impact of their actions. And it encourages the narcissist to reflect on their behavior and their consequences. Whether they actually do or not, probably not, but at least for that moment, they get like shamed, and they're open. You open that and you unmask them for that moment. The next one is, I know who I am and what I need in a relationship, and this is not it. The more you become authentic about who you are, how strong you are, and what you want in a relationship, the more difficult it's going to be for that covert narcissist to be existing in that, because that is a narcissist kryptonite. A strong, resilient, authentic human being is not a person who a narcissist can coexist with. A narcissist, by definition, needs a person who's going to be insecure, needs a person who can be manipulated, needs a person who wants to cling to them. And that this statement, I know who I am and what I need in a relationship, asserts your self-worth, asserts your boundaries. It emphasizes you're not settling for a relationship tainted with narcissistic tendencies. It empowers you to protect yourself. So powerful. If you agree that this is so powerful, I want you to put that in the comments below right now. So powerful. The next one is, this conversation is over until we can speak respectfully without manipulation or blame shifting. By setting a firm boundary, you establish that you will not engage in unhealthy conversations This phrase demands that you demand mutual respect and honesty while exposing that covert narcs manipulation tactics. So good. Conversation's over until we can speak respectfully without manipulation and without blame shifting. And by the way, if you need additional support, please join my free private Facebook group, Narcissist Negotiators with Rebecca Zung, because get the help and support that you need. And if you need therapy, betterhelp.com/Rebecca Zung. Again, get the help and support that you need. We receive commissions. It doesn't cost you any extra. There you have it, folks. Those are the 10 power-packed phrases that will help you when dealing with and confronting a covert narcissist. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Let's be real. Therapy can feel like a really big investment, but your mental health is just as important as your physical health. Traditional in-person therapy can cost $100 to $250 per session, but with BetterHelp, you can save up to 50% per session on average. You pay a flat weekly fee, which means more peace of mind for less. Therapy should feel accessible, not like a luxury. BetterHelp gives you that, all from the comfort from your home. And with over 30,000 therapists to choose from and 5 million people served globally, this is the world's largest online therapy platform. And you can switch therapists at any time. Your well-being is worth it. Visit betterhelp.com/negotiate today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/negotiate. All right. Covert narcissists. I think they are the worst ones. I've had to deal with them in my own life. I had to deal with them in my law practice. I've helped many thousands of people get rid of them, smack them down. And I want to help you with these guys too, because you know what? What can I tell you? What's the difference between a covert and an overt? Well, the overt is the one that will tell you everything about themselves. They're the one that demands everything. I kind of think of them as the garden variety narcissists. These are the ones that you think of. Before I knew what a covert narcissist was, this is the only kind of narcissist I thought that was out there. These are the ones that will demand the best tables at the restaurant. They're the ones that tend to be like the misogynists of the world, the ones that will take what they want without question, no problem. These are the guys that will bully people right to their face. This is a very different type of narcissist than a covert narcissist. This is the one that demands their admiration, demands your attention. A covert narcissist is a much softer tactic, a much more passive kind of a tactic. You know, I kind of think of these as a more like a wolf in sheep's clothing kind of a narcissist, because they're much more stealth, under the radar. You know, you don't know that this is a narcissist until you're up close and personal with this kind of a narcissist. Everybody else in the world thinks that this person is kind and gentle and might even see this person as a victim. And it's much more difficult to recognize right away because they're not out there, you know, taking over the world. They might even say, oh, I hate the spotlight. I don't want that. No, you take the spotlight. I mean, they might even be saying that to other people. I'm telling you, they are just as destructive, just as bad, even sometimes more so. They're not as easy to spot, and they are just as much of a narcissist as any other kind of a narcissist. They have just as much of a need to fill that emptiness inside of them, just as much of a need to have everybody pay attention to them as any other kind of a narcissist. And they have those feelings of fantasies of, you know, craving that fame and glory and all of those things, but it's not as out there as the overt narcissist. And they definitely lack empathy just the same as an overt narcissist. It's just not as easy to spot. It's not as obvious until you're right there, right in front of them. What kinds of things do covert narcissists do? Covert narcissists are passive aggressive. You ask them to do something, or they might even volunteer to do something, and they'll say yes right to your face. And then they just don't do it. Almost like a petulance or something where, okay, how many times do I ask them before I'm just being a pest? Especially if you're a business partner or somebody that works with them, a colleague, it's kind of a push thing. They don't want to be forced to do something, but then if you ask them to do something, they're kind of like don't want to have to do it, but then they don't get asked, then they get mad about that too. It's a crazy sort of thing. They don't want to get left out, but they also don't want to be forced to do something. So they're very passive aggressive in that way. They feel like they're too good for things. They don't want to have to tolerate people. They feel like life isn't fair for them. And they feel like they're never appreciated. They're never appreciated for how much they do. And a lot of times, if they do things for you, it always comes with strings attached. If they give a gift, and a lot of times they do give, but it's always with, they want to make sure that people are watching, and that it's always with purpose, or if they give for charity, are people watching? It's always for a purpose and for a certain gain to get from that. And it's always then, after all I've done for you, don't you see what I've done for you? You should feel appreciative for what I've done for you. Look what I've given for you. You'll never find anyone else like me. A lot of self-importance in that, and a lot of guilt put on people, a lot of guilt, manipulation with guilt that way. Blaming and shaming, a lot of blaming and shaming. They use shame a lot to manipulate people. And there's always sort of this sort of double-edged things that they say to people. They love to use sort of passive aggressive language when they speak to people too. You've lost a lot of weight. That's so great how you've lost a lot of weight. You look good. I mean, it's too bad about the stretch marks, but I mean, you've come so far though. I mean, you've really come so far. Things like that. It's almost sort of like, yeah, but no. They'll say they're happy for you on something, but you can tell that they're not really quite happy. And then they pit people against each other too. But there's always this plausible deniability with everything that they do. Because then when you say things to people, they'll say, what are you talking about? I congratulated them. I said I was happy. I even had a party for them. But you just know that there's this underlying thing, this underlying rage, this underlying passive aggression, rage, something going on with them. There's this emotional neglect. They never quite connect emotionally, because there's just that thing that's missing, because they can't quite get there emotionally. And a lot of times, they'll offer to do something for you, but you just know that they don't really quite want to do it. Like, I'll pick this up for you on the way home. And then sometimes they just, oh, I forgot to do that. Or if they do it, oh, I had to go way out of my way, but I did that for you. Look what I did for you. Well, I had to stand in this long line, but I did it for you because, I wanted to do that for you. They let it be known it was definitely a favor. But then they tell people, look, I did this for you. So, but it's always under this radar thing. But everybody else thinks that they're so nice. Everybody else thinks that they are so nice. But there's always that slight condescension, that slight sort of superiority, a slight thing. But yet everybody else thinks they're wonderful, thinks they're amazing. It makes you feel like you just always feel like crap because it's just death by 1,000 cuts. Deep down inside, they just don't feel good about themselves. What can you do? You got to start creating some healthy boundaries with these people, because these are the people that, eventually you will lose your sense of self. You will lose your sense of who you are. You will lose your sense of your voice. And so you've got to, step one, don't run. Step two, make a U-turn. Step three, break free. And, that's what I say as far as course correcting. Start moving things in a different direction. Start standing up for yourself. Just start questioning, like, I thought you were sick yesterday. How come you're here today? Or why are you here? I thought you didn't like this person. Just start to stand up for yourself a little bit, because, calling them out just a little bit slightly is, that will kind of make them lose their balance, make them lose their focus, and allows you to start standing up for yourself too. Because remember that they are definitely more afraid of you than you are of them. They definitely are. And starting to have some boundaries can give you a little bit more confidence each and every day, and start making you realize that they're attaching themselves to you because you have so much value. And it makes you realize that you can create that distance. You can start to take back your power. And eventually, they will sabotage themselves. They will. And you'll start to see it. The more you start to take back your power, the more you'll start to see that mask start to come off of that covert narcissist. It will start to happen. The first thing that you're going to want to do is pay attention to their inconsistent behavior. The key to a covert narcissist and unveiling a covert narcissist is paying close attention to their inconsistent behavior, because even though they've got that fake smile on their face all the time, they are very inconsistent in their behavior. While they present themselves as kind and empathetic and understanding, their actions do not align with these qualities. So look for discrepancies between what they say and what they do. If you notice a stark difference and contrast between their behavior and what they're actually doing, you're probably looking at a covert narcissist. And you can even call them out on it. Hey, you said that you were going to do this. Why aren't you doing this? How come this is showing up over here? Because they will do things that they're not supposed to be doing. You need to call them out on that behavior. The next thing is recognizing their manipulative tactics. They are skilled manipulators, and their tactics are often very, very subtle, but you will see them, and you're going to start to see them fairly early on in the relationship, even though they're subtle. And what they try to do is they make them so subtle that they're hoping that you're not going to say anything. They want to use guilt. They want to use passive-aggressive behavior. They want to play the victim to control and manipulate others. They try to make you feel like, don't come at me with making me do the thing that I said that I was going to do because I'm sick, or because my parents are sick and I have to take care of them. You wouldn't make me be accountable for the thing that I said that I was going to do, would you? Because I'm sick or my parents are sick, right? What kind of a person are you? So watch out in your tactics when you're dealing with this person. If you find yourself constantly confused or constantly being made to feel guilty, you're being manipulated. It's a red flag for that their true intentions are being veiled, and you're trying to be made to feel guilty. By the way, I have a video on 10 kick-ass comebacks to shut down narcissists. highly recommend that you check out that video. All right. The next one is look for a lack of genuine empathy, not just for yourself, but for other people. Genuine empathy is a trait that all narcissists lack. So while covert narcissists may appear to be empathetic on the surface, eventually you're going to see that it's very superficial and it's very self-serving. Observe how they respond to emotions. Observe how they respond to your struggles. Observe how they respond to other people's struggles. Do they genuinely show care? Do they genuinely offer support? Do they genuinely respond to how people are feeling? How are they when people are in conversation? Are they constantly redirecting conversation back to themselves? Genuine empathy takes real efforts, right? It takes active listening. It takes understanding. It shows compassion. Are they apologizing? Are they recognizing when they weren't fully engaged in a conversation? Do they come back? Do they notice things? Are they self-aware? And you'll see it. And if you're not in it, it will start to wear away at you after a while. You'll start to feel exhausted. In being in this relationship, you'll start to feel drained. And if that happens, you're going to start to need support. So make sure you get the support and help that you need, because I was in a relationship with a covert narcissist, and you're going to start to feel like you're going crazy after a while, and nobody's going to understand, because everyone's going to think, oh, that doesn't sound so bad. Maybe it was inadvertent, and if that starts happening, get the help and support that you need. Join my free private Facebook group, Narcissist Negotiators with Rebecca Zung. Get therapy if you need it with a therapist who understands narcissism. Go to betterhelp.com/Rebecca Zung if you can't get the help and support that you need through your own network. We receive commissions on that because they're a sponsor for us, but we just want you to have help and support that you trust. It doesn't cost you any extra. So the next one is assess their constant need for validation. Covert narcissists constantly need to be admired. They constantly need to be complimented. They crave constant attention and praise because they have this very fragile self-esteem. So they constantly need to be complimented. Did I do a good job? Look at me. Look at the work that I did. If that wouldn't have happened if it weren't for me, look at that. If that's constantly happening, if they're constantly needing to direct the conversation back to themselves to get praise, and they don't get attention, and they get resentful if they don't get attention, if they're resentful because they're feeling like they were left out, or if they're not getting the admiration that they feel like they deserve, then there's a problem. All right. If their self-worth is depending on this external validation, it's a clear sign that they're hiding behind these narcissistic traits. In your gut that something is going on. If you're starting to feel that your little spidey sense is starting to turn on there, maybe you start to make a plan. All right. And that leads me to my last one here, which is trust your intuition, trust your gut, because it's happening. It's on. And if that's the case, I know for me, I should have gotten out a whole lot sooner than I did. If something feels off, it probably is off. Listen to that inner voice inside yourself. They're very skilled at manipulation, and then you're in it, and you're in it for way longer than you should have been. Trust yourself. That person is not authentic. They're not the person that they said that they are. Their actions are not aligning with their words. And then you're going to end up having an enemy on your hands when you actually try to get out of this thing. And the deeper in you are, the harder it's going to be to get out of this thing. And then you're going to need something to get out of it. So when you are going to negotiate with a narcissist, grab my free Crush My Negotiation prep worksheet at winmynegotiation.com. Winmynegotiation.com. You're going to need it. It's a free ebook. Make sure you grab it. Also, make sure you get my new book, Slay the Bully, slaythebully.com, because you're going to need that too. All right. So there you have it, folks. 5 powerful strategies to unveil the mask of a covert narcissist by paying attention to this inconsistent behavior and recognizing their manipulative tactics, looking for that lack of genuine empathy, assessing their constant need for validation, and trusting your intuition. You're going to be so much better equipped to see through their deceptive facade, right? And know when it's time to skedaddle. If you're a renter, you should be taking advantage of Built. We rack up points on groceries, travel, and nearly everything else. So why not one of your most hugest monthly expenses, which is your rent? Because with Built, paying rent finally pays off. There's no cost to join. And just by paying rent, you unlock flexible points that can be transferred to your favorite hotels and airlines, a future rent payment, your next Lyft ride, and more. When you pay rent through Built, you unlock 2 powerful benefits. First, you earn one of the industry's most valuable points on rent every month. No matter where you live or who your landlord is, your rent now works for you. Second, you gain access to exclusive neighborhood benefits in your city. Built's neighborhood benefits are things like extra points on dining out, complimentary post-workout shakes, free mats, or towels at your favorite fitness studios, and unique experiences that only Built members can access. And when you're ready to travel, Built points can be converted to your favorite miles and hotel points around the world, meaning your rent can literally take you places. So if you're not earning points on rent, my question is, what are you waiting for? Start paying rent through Built and start taking advantage of your neighborhood benefits by going to joinbuilt.com/negotiate. That's joinbilt.com/negotiate, and make sure to use our URL so that we know that you were sent to them by us. So go to joinbuilt.com/negotiate to sign up for Built today. They have a public persona that is totally different than their private persona. I think they are, in some ways, the most dangerous kind of narcissist because everybody else thinks they are so wonderful. This is the kind that I had to deal with as a family member and as a business partner. And I think it's really, really very, very, very difficult because it's death by 1,000 cuts. And it's really, really, really hard when you're trying to tell somebody about it. You go to tell somebody about it and everybody thinks, well, that doesn't sound so bad. Let's dive in. The first hidden habit is that subtle underminer. A covert narcissist is very passive aggressive. And so what they will do is they might subtly put you down. What's the name of that thing again that you had? I can never remember. And you're thinking, how can you not remember? It's like just that little subtle thing, just to let you know that it's a little jab, or they might disguise an insult as a joke or a backhanded compliment. One of my daughter's boyfriends one time said, our kids are going to have the best of all worlds. They're going to have my brains and your work ethic. Just like a little backhanded compliment like that. Like just like a little passive aggressive thing. It's so bold. Something like that. Or what is that on your thing? On your dress like that? Oh, that's actually part of the dress. Go something like that. It's just like a little sort of disguised backhanded thing. Passive aggressive behavior that's just sort of subtly meant to put somebody down. It's just right under the radar, because they've got this underlying rage, this underlying jealousy that's just there under the surface. But everybody else thinks that they're so nice. And they have this persona that they're such a good person. They could be humanitarians, they could be pastors, they could be lawyers, they could be doctors, they could be pillars of society. That's what's so difficult about the covert narcissist. They're passive aggressive oftentimes. Another one is the emotional withdrawal. They punish you by withdrawing affection, withdrawing emotion. They give you the silent treatment, suddenly becoming cold and distant. Instead of the grandiose narcissist that's telling everybody how great they are, or telling you, hey, you're an asshole or whatever, give you the cold shoulder for days, refusing to acknowledge your presence. Just all of a sudden, you just don't know what's going on. So this is the emotional withdrawal, the covert narcissist. So, and if any of these habits sound familiar so far, don't worry, you're not alone. And if you need phrases for disarming narcissists to handle these situations, get my free phrases for disarming narcissists at disarmthenarc.com so that you can have something at the ready. You can get them and use them for your text messages, for your emails, for communicating with narcissists. It'll help you. If you face these, share your stories in the comments. Your experience could help others, and say, I've seen it. Put that in the comments. So habit number 3 is the victim stance. Covert narcissists are experts at playing the victim. They twist stories to make it seem like they're being wronged. You go and ask them, hey, where's the thing that you were supposed to do for me? Now they're oppressed. How could you ask that of me? Even if it was something that they suggested they were going to do. It's their way of getting sympathy, manipulating others. The victim stance. I can't believe you're asking this of me. You know how much I've been dealing with. They twist things. My air conditioning was out. This person didn't show up at my house. Whatever it is, they're the victim. Habit number 4, the quiet saboteur. Unlike overt narcissists, they'll file false pleadings, they'll lie right in your face. No, they quietly spread rumors, and they do it in the form of care. I'm so worried about Kim, just concerned about her and her drinking. She's just, I don't know. I'm just worried about her. They spread rumors subtly to discredit, to set you up to fail without overt hostility. Spreading rumors. It's the quiet saboteur. Oh, I didn't get an email from so and so. I don't know why. I usually do. That sort of thing. And finally, habit number 5, master of guilt tripping. Covert narcissists are adept at making you feel guilty for their problems. Oh, it's fine if you don't come. I'll just be here by myself, or I'll handle it myself. I do everything. They want you to feel responsible for their happiness or their well-being. And so you have to be the one who takes care of them. It's all right. I'll be over here. And so you end up feeling guilty. The one thing that you need to do is have boundaries around these people. And that's why it's so important for you to recognize these signs and say, it's not okay. If you want to put that in the comments below right now, it's not okay. And if you need additional support, join my Facebook group, Narcissist Negotiators with Rebecca Zung. It's an amazing support group. And recognizing these hidden habits will start to empower you so that you can navigate and negotiate these dynamics effectively. Knowledge is your shield, it's your strength, it's your power. And I got into dealing with narcissists because I wanted to understand them in the courtroom. I wanted to deal with them and beat them in the courtroom. So I started really researching them so that I could beat them strategically, tactically. Then, I ended up with a narcissistic business partner, and a female, covert, passive aggressive, narcissistic business partner. And it literally almost took me to my knees. And I did not realize what I was dealing with until somebody said, hey, she's a female covert passive aggressive narcissist. And I was like, what is that? Oh my gosh. And that's when I really started researching this stuff. And it is unbelievable because I thought a narcissist was a male misogynist bully who was a risk taker, who was somebody who threw their weight around, told everybody what to do, that type of a person who was boastful, bragging, impulsive. That's what I thought a narcissist was. I didn't realize that a narcissist could be a female. I kind of see it as almost like the clutching the pearls type sometimes. Oh my gosh, oh, how could you possibly accuse me of that? That sort of thing. Sometimes I always see it as the clean hands person, the person who is really good at plausible deniability, keeping themselves out of the fray. But just under the radar, there's this rage, this jealousy. They're very good at sort of the double meaning things, saying things that you're like, what is that they just said? And you're not quite sure how to respond because the way they say it is there's like a little bit of a tone. How did I just take that? What did I just hear? They forget things, details that you think, did they really forget that? Or am I imagining this? They oftentimes play the victim. And so other people feel sorry for them. They triangulate a lot. They smear people. And they also pit people against each other in a very under the radar way. How it ends up sort of manifesting itself is this passive aggression. I'm not mad when they're very obviously mad, or silent treatment or withholding. They withhold information, subtle manipulation. Oh, I'll just do it myself, no problem. Or undermining. So they might say things like, are you sure you can handle that? It seems a little bit beyond your skills. Even more so. And by the way, if you're new here, I invite you to subscribe to this channel, hit that notification bell. But even more so, they say phrases that are designed to manipulate, designed to control, to confuse, to disorient you, to leave you feeling insecure, leave you feeling isolated. These little patterns, these little cuts, and almost like, oh, that's a really interesting choice of blouse. It's perfect for your style. Was that a compliment? I don't know if they just gave me a compliment or not. Or that's a really good steady job. It's perfect for someone like you. Again, you're not sure if they just gave you a compliment or not. It's like this underlying ulterior motive thing, and you're not sure if the person just gave you a compliment or not. Another thing that they might say is, you've lost so much weight and you look so much better than you did before. It's great how you're focusing on your hobbies. Not everybody needs a high powered job. It's like this double sort of thing where they're giving you a compliment, but they also are sort of putting you down at the same time. It's passive aggressive. If somebody questions them on it, they're like, what? I was just giving you a compliment. I really was just trying to give you a compliment. It seems benign at first glance, but it's really meant to undermine you. It's really meant to leave that seed of doubt and subtly belittle you. And so that as they're delivering it, they're just right on the border of that thing, so that if somebody questions it, they can go, what? I was just giving you a compliment. What are you talking about? And they're very, very good at that. And they're also very good at smearing people in terms of care. So how that might look is, oh, I'm really worried about Susie being so late so often lately at work. It's so unlike her. I just hope everything's okay at home. It's just that it's really starting to affect the team's morale, and I hope everything's okay at home. That sort of thing. And they act innocent about it. It's that passive aggression, that underlying thing. And so that's the kind of thing that you see with a covert narcissist. They're not in your face going, hey, look how great I am. Hey, that Mark dude, he's a loser. They don't do that. They're much smarter about that. And if you guys have seen this, I would love to know. Go, oh my God, yes, in the comments. I want to know if you've seen this in the comments, because it is the worst. It gives you this pit feeling in your stomach. You end up feeling sick. This is the kind of thing that makes you think that you're crazy. You feel like nobody else sees it because everybody else thinks that they're so nice. And so you don't want to say anything about it. And you wake up in the middle of the night, you're thinking about it, you're ruminating about it, and you're afraid to say anything because, oh my God, nobody else is going to believe you. But this is the kind of thing that they do. And their underlying strategy is to make you think they undermine you while everybody else thinks that they're so wonderful. They literally are just embedding these little belittling things in you to undermine you, to just to push you down a little bit, to get supply from you, to control you, to let you know that they are like making you feel less than, to assert themselves as making themselves feel superior over you. It's so maddening to say the least, but it's also over time really, really something that can do a number on you. This is why it is a type of narcissism that is something that you definitely cannot live with long term. It completely sucks your soul from you. So I'm going to be giving you five compelling reasons that covert narcissists are always watching you. And it's really crucial to understand what a covert narcissist is and how it differs from the more well-known overt narcissists. Covert narcissists, unlike their overt counterparts, aren't as openly self-centered and self-aggrandizing as the covert narcissist. Instead, they display a pattern of modesty. They almost play the victim, instead of like that overt narcissist that goes in and demands the best table in the restaurant, or sort of holds court wherever they go. They're like hypersensitive and almost like defensive, and they operate under the radar. They kind of pretend like they don't want attention to themselves, and it makes their behavior much more difficult to recognize. Reason number one that they're sort of always watching you is that they're always on the hunt for information. They're constantly watching you because they're meticulously trying to glean information about your behavior. They're watching your reactions. They're watching your habits. Why are they doing that? They want to be able to weaponize this behavior against you eventually. Remember, with a narcissist, you're either for them or you're against them. And if you're against them, you're going to be public enemy number one, especially in a negotiation. And so they're constantly watching to see, are you for me or are you against me? They want to see, what do you like? What do you don't like? Are you for me or are you against me? So let's say, you like classic novels. And in that case, they might want to steer this conversation or manipulate this conversation toward, are you going to be for me or are you going to be against me? Are you my perfect mate or are you not my perfect mate? Because if you don't like exactly what I like, then maybe, you're not perfect for me. That's how they are, like, even if you don't align exactly with me, then you're not going to be for me anymore, because that's how they are. They're constantly looking to see that. And if you're out in public and you say, well, I don't necessarily like that anymore, they use that as like a personal affront. They actually see that as you're now belittling them in some way. They see this as a public confrontation, and they use this as, you did this to me in a group setting, and they want to use this and they retaliate against you in some way, and they'll watch you. They'll be watching to see, how did you behave against them in this way? They're constantly watching you, constantly observing. How are you behaving with me? Are you for me? Are you against me? So they're constantly watching you because they're going to use this information. They're going to weaponize this information against you. The next reason they're constantly watching you is for control. They're yearning for control. And by observing you, they can identify vulnerabilities, insecurities, weaknesses, which they will exploit and use against you to maintain and establish control. And they start with this early on during the love bombing phase, by the way. And it manifests even in a professional relationship where they deliberately put you in uncomfortable situations to assert their dominance. And we're talking about covert narcissists here. And I'm not talking about dominance is a dominant overt narcissist. We're talking about covert narcissists. So let's say a partner is aware of their partner's anxiety around social gatherings. So they might insist that their partner attend these events frequently, even though their partner has anxiety around attending social gatherings. So they'll say, we have to go, we must go, to perpetually throw their partner off balance. And they do this so that their partner becomes dependent upon them for emotional support. So they purposely do that to make them even more anxious. That's what the kind of thing that they'll do. It's very stealth. It's very manipulative. So that's number 2. Number 3 is what I call like a pretend connection. The third reason that they will be watching you. It's to sort of create a pretend connection with you. So they'll watch you to see what it is that you're into so that they can say, oh, I also love whatever it is that you're into, so that they can kind of suddenly adopt the same thing that you're into and have this pretend shared connection with you. And, it isn't a true, genuine interest. It's a tactical move to create an illusion of compatibility. And obviously it ends up wearing off after a while. This is more like a love bombing move that they have, right? It is so fake. And obviously they're fakers. And if you agree with me, put fakers in the comments, and if you've seen any of these things so far, just put something in the comments to let me know what you've seen so far. I have a video on love bombing, and I highly recommend that you check out my video on love bombing as well. And if you're trying to disarm narcissists, I have a free phrases for disarming narcissists, which you can get at disarmthenarc.com. That will help you as well. So just disarmthenarc.com and get my free phrases for disarming narcissists as well. The next one is mimicking social cues. That's the reason number 4. They struggle with empathy and they struggle with, what to do for empathy. So they watch real people know what to do, and so that they know how to behave, they know how to act. They watch you closely, studying how you express sympathy or joy, and then mirror these behaviors so that they know how to fit in. Think of it this way, like suppose a covert narcissist observes their friend consoling someone who's upset. They might store this interaction sort of like in their behavioral bank, like replicating it in the future to appear like empathetic and caring, even though these emotions may not genuinely resonate with them. Sort of like, oh, that's what I'm supposed to do, right? Okay, so that's reason number 4. And by the way, if you need support, you need additional support, and you need therapy, I have a sponsor on this channel, which is BetterHelp. And don't sit there alone. Don't sit there isolated. get the help and support that you need. Just go to betterhelp.com/Rebecca Zung and get the therapy and help that you need. We receive commissions on that. It doesn't cost you any extra. It's just that we want you to have access to help and support that you can trust. And also, I have a free private Facebook group that you can get the help and support that you need in as well. And that's Narcissist Negotiators with Rebecca Zung. Please get help and support that you can trust and that you need. Because, I know when you're dealing with narcissists, it's extremely, extremely painful, helpless. You feel helpless, you feel powerless. All right. The last reason is reason number 5, and that's the hunt for praise and validation. Reason number 5 is like their ceaseless hunt for praise and validation. Covert narcissists, they want, that endless black hole. They want to constantly looking for what will impress you or what pleases you. So they align their actions accordingly, and they stage scenarios to exhibit qualities and achieve their desired admiration accordingly. So they're looking to see, okay, are they looking at me? Are they watching me? And so they look to see, are you seeing what I'm doing, right? So am I caught in the act, doing what I'm supposed to be doing? Not doing something good for somebody because that's the right thing to do, but because am I being watched doing the right thing? So that I can get praised. Like they're the first person who shows up at the hospital because, the right people might be watching or whatever. There you have it. The fascinating yet strange, unnerving 5 reasons that covert narcissists are always watching you. And it's crucial to understand that these behaviors, we can watch them, we can learn from them, and become stronger as a result. Use them as lessons. Knowledge is power. We can use it as a shield, and we can use it as, in a way, as a sword, right? And the more we comprehend this, the better and stronger that we can be. Remember, they're not going to change, but you can certainly change. And you are capable, and you are resilient, you are strong, and you can keep moving forward. You can keep learning, and every day you can become a better version of yourself.